Hello, welcome to my channel for Evolved Humans. I'm Ms. Day. This is a collective reading. I'm gonna grab my sage. I looked up what the song was called because in one of the last readings I heard this song and it came to my mind again when I was ready to start this reading. It is called, I don't know if it's called King or You Can Be King Again. I don't know. But the artist's name is Lauren, and the last name is Aquilina. It's a really beautiful song. I love this song. And I didn't know what it was called, but I just randomly heard it a few years ago. And when I was really fighting through my eating disorder, that song was awesome. Because, when I got on top of it, I don't know that I had, fully, you know how, a person will lose a lot of weight, but they'll still see themselves in the mirror as larger than other people? I've gone through that, too. But that's kind of what it was like, where it was I had overcome certain behaviors, but then my emotional self hadn't really healed up to that same level of functioning that I was trying to adapt to emotionally. Super weird. Okay. And this is because I think that someone in here, this song came into my head, and what I was hearing was, you've got control, rid up the monsters inside your head. You can be king again. I mean, it's just someone in here, whoever this reading is for, it was very abrupt that I think that you have a need to speak. And I think that you need to speak to get some things moving. Because one of the things that is really heavy feeling is when you have something dark kind of at the bottom, in the pits in your own self, and you're okay, I know there's something there and it's heavy and it's weight that I have walked with my whole life. But I feel like you matured into this dutiful type of persona. I feel like whoever this reading is for, you have this feeling, this sense of duty that makes you very comfortable. If you have a reason to move, you can move. But if you don't see a reason that you personally should be doing a thing, then it's hard to, it feels paralyzed, locked up. I think it's very important to talk. And if you can't say things out loud, you can still sort of process them in an interacting sort of way by, I don't care how silly this sounds, looking up certain things on YouTube. You're already listening to YouTube to see this. I look up certain things when I need certain things. You can look up motivation for when you feel like a failure. You can look up motivation just to wake up on time. You can look up anything to give you the right type of air that you want to match, that maybe you don't really know how to get yourself there to that level without someone else kind of pulling you up there. That's not only you, that's all of us. You have to know something exists in order to really reach for it. That's why you have to believe in the impossible when you're accepting something that is possible. You have to decide that it's possible to accept it. Okay, so that song is really sweet for this reading because I feel like even though you have a strong sense of fair, I feel like you know the difference between right and wrong, and I don't think you're one of those people that's iffy. I don't feel like you're wishy-washy. You know right feels right and wrong feels wrong. That can be hard. Because especially if other people don't really embrace that part of their own knowing, hard to really connect and interact with people And I think that whoever you are, you have a need to interact on your level. And I don't think it's a level you've been at your whole life. So that's amazing in the way that you've evolved and grown. But it's also, I think it's made you feel lonely because I think you need to speak. I think that you have a need to interact on a new level. You know, that can even just help you know what it is you need to work on. Sometimes if you're like super full and you have the full process, like the full flow, sometimes it can help to just like speak things out because you can kind of grab hold of one thing selectively at a time that's in that flow. And then by the end of like a short conversation, you feel kind of clearer minded. So somebody, I know it's hard to say that when you feel like you can't always talk to somebody. I know that. But I think that's a reason I'm thinking of this like awesome window into the world with YouTube where you can like literally look up any type of information that you need that can really help take you up to the next level. Like look for an example of it. So this is kind of serious though, because I feel like I feel like you have this strong sense of duty towards what is right. I feel like that feels very natural to you. It's almost like a medieval type of feeling, like a very dutiful, like I have to like an honor type of thing, which is beautiful. How cool is that? But the thing that it feels like is you're almost like trying to do that, and there's stuff that you need to heal in order to have full control over your own emotions running the show. It's like, I think that you can be fooled. Ooh. Okay, this is weird. So, you know how like some people are manipulative? Duh. You know, like when people are manipulative, emotionally manipulative, just in ways that like somebody might want to get you to do something, like for whatever the cause. I feel like whoever this reading is for, I think you observed and maybe received, not all of you, but I think a large sum. I think that you observed throughout all of your early childhood and adolescent years, like manipulation at its finest, like at a peak. And the reason I'm saying that is not to like be all judgy. It's because it's almost like you had to look for the solid material truths instead of trusting the underlying emotional truths. It's like you couldn't trust your interactions on an emotional soul level, and you knew that, so you always just tried to like read between the lines. And it feels like, okay, this is, I feel like you've always had this sense of duty about you. Even some of you that are like a very tender personality. I think something is always underlying been like, I don't know, just makes you want to do right by those that you come in contact with. So that's neat. And at the same time, that same feeling though, it's weird because I just get these strange feelings with this reading where it's almost like you have this allegiance to honoring someone else, honoring something else, lending your time to that, lending your honor to that, And it really feels like they don't want you to be... It was such a be careful feeling where it's like, you need to be your own solid home. And it's so weird because I just keep wanting to say, I feel like that song, that You Can Be King Again, I think this is like, it's even making me think of Simba. Like, I feel like you're supposed to be, I think that you view yourself as less of an authority figure than you are capable of being. It's almost like you're standing in smaller shoes and you're waiting for someone else to step into the big boots, and you're just going to have their back. That's interesting. And it's because of something. I feel like they're trying to give you the key, which is way back, and yet it feels like kind of in adolescent years where maybe you were experiencing some hits a little later than other people who were experiencing their hits with their parents. Weird. I don't even know. But it feels like it might do you well to talk some stuff out. And okay, I do not like labels. I do not like diagnosing things or saying I couldn't. I'm just saying I don't believe in saying go talk to a therapist or a counselor. But sometimes you can be selfish and literally get a counselor for a very temporary amount of time and just kind of talk out your stuff and then dip. If you don't want to stay, then that's fine. But if you don't have anybody in your life to talk to, you can either reach for the external stuff where you just go to YouTube and be like, what is it that I need? What am I in need of? And search for it, because chances are somebody has had that same trouble along the way in some form of their own experience. So I think that talking out what you have learned too, I think that you need to know that everything you've gone through, it can be of service. Yes. Gosh, I just keep feeling like someone here is kind of acting as an understudy, but emotionally, you have walked through so much, you could definitely do some leading. And then, but at the same time, this is such a strong, it's such a strong, be careful not to do this thing, which it feels like a complete sentence, so I'll just say it the way it looks, which is basically that you have some locked up experiences from the past, or interactions like relationships. You have things that are on hold from the past. Something that is not closed, something that is not solidified in yourself, something is undecided still. I don't know what it is, but it's I wouldn't just say, it's sometimes I would say, well, you just need to heal from past wounds that you've been blocking. It feels like the same type of blocking, but it's not necessarily you need to heal from wounds. It's more like you need to decide how you feel about those experiences now. You need to step into being the boss now. This is your moment. This is so interesting. And the reason this is important, you need to do this because if you start saying things out loud, I think that you've got some more stories. I think that you've got some really dark turns that you have gotten through. And I think that those can help people. And that's why they're trying to help you. They're trying to clear your view. They're trying to unlock your, what the problem is? This is that thing where it's you're holding yourself back. Okay, so one of the first lines I heard, it was, be careful not to let your emotions rule your thoughts and your focus, what you focus on. Because if you let your emotions stir, then your behaviors can reflect what's going on in here if you don't have a grip on it. Because that means you really don't have a grip on what you're going to do if you don't have a grip on what your focus is on. And I feel like they're trying to tell you you have a decision. And you can decide what to focus on. But I think that one of the keys here is for you to look back, and it feels like an adolescence. It feels like adolescent, like 8+. It really does. And it feels like there might be interactions or ties in relationship types of things in family or something that like you never really decided where to land on that, like with what happened to you. And I feel like they're wanting you to finish that. They're wanting you to readdress it so that you can finish it. It is healing. I mean, that's healing, is basically making sure something works well again. So I feel like they're trying to yeah. And one of the first feelings I thought too was this burying it down feeling. Like that almost coincides with your sense of duty. Like, I just thought of that song in Encanto, We Don't Talk About Bruno. Like that, we don't talk about Bruno. Like, shh, we don't talk about that. Like, that's how I feel like this is. And okay, so the reason this is important too, it feels like it's like you're trying to walk into the light and for the light, because you do have a strong sense of what's right and wrong. But I feel like there is a thin layer of unjust feeling, like a feeling of injustice that's like a layer of, nope, I'm not going to look at that because that's never going to be right. And even though that may be true, some things are never going to be right. Even if you can react to them in an evolved way later, certain actions are always negative actions. The only fortunate thing about something negative is that there is a positive to counter it, even if we don't see it. I feel like because of these things being avoided, it's like they're just little blinders to you seeing the light now. And this weird thin layer of something in front of it, it's almost like that thin layer in front of, Bruno. It's like that is actually a protective layer of, it almost feels like don't poke the bear. Like that's a thin layer there. And I think that's why this is so abruptly like, be careful not to let your emotions run the show. So I don't know if you experienced in your adolescence, maybe you experienced the adults around you. Ooh. Being controlling in I heard the word vindictive in my head. Like I feel like you experienced people being vindictive, and this is definitely ties into that manipulative thing. And so here's the thing. We are adaptive creatures. And I think that it's very possible that you've adapted internally to manipulating yourself. It's almost like your emotions can get a grip on you. Stop it. The thing that I'm even picturing, like as soon as I even thought about that, it was the Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 3? Which was it? I think it was Spider-Man 2. the one with Kirsten Dunst. I think it was number 2. And there was Octavius, and he had like the creepy arms. And the reason I'm saying that is because it almost feels like a snaky type of thing that you are capable of doing. I know it sounds awful, but I can relate. Otherwise, I wouldn't get it. I learned from some stuff too. And when you're adapting as an adolescent, it's like you're emotionally reacting, and you're also observing, and you're also judging, and you're also hormonally judging, and all the stuff. So I feel like what they're trying to basically get to you is something was stopped during this time. But I think that there's residual lingering, because in that Spider-Man thing that I'm thinking of, there was a little chip that he had in the back of his mind to keep himself in control of these crazy arms he put on to himself. And it's like he didn't want to do terrible things. He wanted to help people. But because something glitched, and then he didn't have control over his own power, his behavior just destroyed lots of people and things. And the weird thing that also ties into is this feeling of you're not going to be happy with yourself with the results of emotions running the show. This is not going to get you where you want to go. I keep hearing this very simple line, but very, very hard to implement sometimes. But this line that Jim Rohn said when he was basically explaining that if you are one of his main mentors in his life had said, if you do better, if you become better, everything will get better. If you become a better version of you, then everything in your life has an opportunity to become something better in reflection of that. And it's weird because you want so badly to do something good because you know what's right, and because you've walked through a lot of lessons, and you've learned the lessons, and you can do good. You know it. So I feel like if you're feeling like you keep hitting a wall, it feels like this message is speak your truth, let it out. Gosh, even alone. Sometimes I'll talk to myself because I'm not really talking to myself. I'll talk to my guides out loud with my voice sometimes. Sometimes I'll be like, what? Or I'll be like, why though? I have to say something to make a big vibration into the air sometimes, just to allow my own energy to exist in my space. Be bold in my own space. I've got to feel a jolt of me sometimes. And this feels like I just keep hearing that song. So whoever you are, you need to unlock these interactions. You need to unlock the memories of certain experiences as an observer. Not as the child who's not wanting to go into that pain again. Because some of you, it may look like that, but for some of you, you can bear it so much better now than you could then, because it's like a warrior spirit. I don't care how cheesy that sounds. These are my favorite type of people. These are my favorite types of people because you are freakishly intelligent, and all you need is self-control, and you can do big things. You can do things that other people can't do. So if this reading is for you, please don't ignore that you can evolve yourself just by recognizing little bitty bits that maybe haven't fully organized a new perception yet. That's it. Like, it doesn't feel that complicated. It just feels like somebody needs to know that that there's something productive in doing that. And that you can step into this role that you actually are built for if you allow yourself. Oh, you gotta like come first for a second. You've gotta come first for a minute. That is a fact. Like, look at it from a rational viewpoint, because that might make you more comfortable to allow, you know, that thin layer that I feel like is like on top of these past things that you observed and went through. It's almost like a fear of becoming weakened by looking at them. That's not all of you. Because for some of you, I feel like you put anger in the way. You put anger there. It's your roadblock. You're like, nope, we don't cross there. We don't talk about Bruno. Oh my gosh. It's very natural to do that. That's why I giggle, and it's cute, because it's what we do. It's what we do when we're like, that is a screwed up thing to experience. I'm going to run in the opposite direction of that. Somebody in here too, I was thinking about this, and I didn't know if it would come in, but I have to say it because it is. I feel like somebody experienced relationships that did not make it, and that has tarnished your own view for certain things, and I think that's some of the interaction stuff you have to look at. That's not everyone. Everybody's got different experiences that like shaped them as they were developing, but for you, I think a lot of this was abrupt disappointment in relationships you like needed to not be disappointing. There's nothing wrong with speaking out your truth, and I think for you, speaking out your truth is your emotional intelligence. You're emotionally intelligent. And to get a grip on that, you need to have control of that. That's why it made me think of the Spider-Man movie. Like, to be that powerful, you need to be a very powerful authority figure over that. Because that's power. Intelligence is our crazy. That's our crazy superpower. That's our crazy, wild animal bit. Okay. So I hope that you feel positive from this. I know it felt kind of heavy, but I also feel like it's very inspiring to like meet people that feel this way about like wanting to put good into the world with what they've gone through. That's just a lot. Like, that gives a lot of reason to like people when the world is so strange. Okay, so I hope you have a good rest of your evening. I'll see you guys in the next reading. If you are in my members, I'll be hopefully getting some videos in there this evening.